All right. Well, there's some rain in the forecast. It's a gorgeous day out here. It's 37 degrees right now, but it's going to be cold tonight. And so I'm going to get on some camp chores, process some firewood, and we'll throw some tips your way for processing firewood and being ready for those cold nights. I want to start by saying it's been really wet. We've had a lot of rain, and as you can see, now snow. And so gathering firewood doesn't have to be overly complicated. What we're really looking for is anything that's above snow, preferably that's been above snow for some time. So when I'm trying to collect firewood, there are two real simple tests. I call the first the snap test. If you grab a limb and it snaps off, or it'll snap apart and break apart fairly easily, that's probably going to be excellent wood, and you want the entire limb. The next test is the tap test or the knock test. Take another piece of wood, or in this case I'm just using my axe and tapping the wood, and you want that kind of hardwood thud. That tells me that the wood's just not too corky. You want plenty of that. Obviously, if there's some corky wood there, that's okay. In this case, I found a piece that was above ground, and it wouldn't snap off at first, so I'm going to take a few whacks at it, and I'm going to get that off. It doesn't take an awful lot of effort to get that wood broken loose, and I'm going to take that with me. Anything that's been above ground and exposed to sunlight in the air is going to give you some fairly dry wood. At least the core wood is going to be dry. And so if you've done the snap test and you've done the tap test, then it's pretty likely, if you're getting that solid tone and sound and that quick snap, that at least the core in this wood is going to be good and solid, and it's going to give you some great BTUs to heat your campfire. In this case, I'm gathering wood that I can use both for my campfire outside my shelter and my hot tent stove inside my shelter. And so it's pretty important that I have some quality wood. On this particular morning, I'm out. I'm only going to be in my shelter for a couple of nights, so I'm just looking for the easy, quick pickings. So I'm taking some wood that I can get away with pretty quickly. Obviously, if I'm in a dire emergency or a real survival situation, I'm going to be a lot less selective about what wood I carry back to my campsite. But typically, I'm looking for that wood that's above the snow level and has been out of the snow at least for several days. In this case, I've stumbled upon some cherry, and this is about 4-inch diameter, excellent wood for the fire, and I really want to get some of this home. So I'm going to cut some pieces out, and then I'm going to leave some of this behind. Again, I'm just after the easy, quick pickings, and I'm going to take this back to my campsite and process it down. This cherry is going to be very good hot burning wood. Standing deadwood is some of my favorite to harvest. This standing deadwood, once I pulled the tree over, I was able to break it apart without a saw or an axe, and I can probably process this down for my fire pit without ever using a saw. So a real important safety tip, always look up when you're processing standing dead. Pieces can break off from the top and cause injury. Now that I've got my harvested firewood back to my campsite, it's just a matter of processing it for the best use. And I consider two things. One, I want to identify the densest wood for my nighttime burns because it's going to give me the longest burn and the best BTUs. And I also want to make sure I have plenty of nice, solid, but very dry wood to make for easy fire starting. And so I'm going to split as much of this out as I can. Anything over 2 inches, I'm probably going to split it. And I split this down the middle, and as I'm splitting this, I'm listening again for those solid tones that tell me I've got some good hardwood. A lot of what I'm splitting here is cherry. There's some ash in here, and I think there's even a few pieces of hickory that I gathered on this particular day. But all of this is deadfall or dead standing wood, and so most of it is fairly dry. Some of the larger pieces, there are some corky portions that are still a little bit moist, but that's okay too. And that's why we're processing it down and splitting it out here. So a real quick processing tip. Obviously, sometimes you can process the wood with no saw and no axe. By all means, do that. But use your tools well. You don't have to saw all the way through a 2-inch piece of wood. Simply score that, then you can break it across your knee, or as you see here, breaking it across my axe head or breaking it across another tree. And as much of this as I possibly can, I'm going to process it by snapping it down by hand. This also allows me to feel the quality of the wood, the density of the wood, and so I have a really good idea about the quality of the firewood that I processed, and I can portion that wood for daytime use, nighttime use, etc., and I can manage my resources more effectively. When you put this kind of effort into gathering and processing your firewood, you want to take good care of it. So there's a couple of ways that I stack my firewood. One is I will sometimes stack my firewood, in this case, vertically. So I'll find another tree, or I'll build a tripod so that I can stack my wood on its end. Now this is going to do a couple of things. It's going to shed water more quickly if we have rainfall, and it's going to prevent the snow from collecting on it. It's going to make it easy for me to keep this above the snow level and remain dry. Anytime I process the wood down to small enough pieces that are going to go into my tent stove, I want to stack that apart. And so usually that's going to actually go inside my shelter. Any wood that's left outside is going to be either standing vertically, or it's going to be lying under a tarp, or preferably in this case, I created a bed of wood, stacked my wood on it, covered it with a tarp, and just laid something on there to protect that. Basically, I just want to keep my wood as sheltered as I keep myself, because when I need that wood to keep me warm, I need it to be dry. If you're expecting rain, obviously you want to keep your tinder and dry wood dry. However, if you've got a great sunny day and there's a breeze, uncovering that wood can allow it to dry even better. If you need to leave camp and you're just not sure what the weather's going to do, you can arrange your tarp so that it provides some protection, but allow it to flow with the wind. Sometimes to do that, I'll just secure the tarp with some tie outs. It'll just keep that tarp up so that it's off of the wood, allowing the air to get to it and allowing it to dry. You may throw a weight on the back just to make sure while you're gone that your tarp doesn't blow away. But it's really important that your wood is kept dry and that you're doing everything you can to keep it dry.